This year, my friend invited me to her cottage by the lake to relax with her family. I decided to spend the last 2 weeks of my vacation there and arrived in late July. Her little cousin also lived there. He was 6 years old. The boy was very unusual, often playing alone with his toys or just sleeping. Incidentally, he loved to sleep, even during the day. He could fall asleep at any time and sleep for a couple of hours. I noticed that he was very pale and thin for his age. When I asked my friend about it, she said he had always been such a sickly child. The neighbor boys didn't want to accept him into their group, but he didn't strive for that either. Soon my friend and I realized why. One hot summer day, he was drawing with markers. As my friend and I walked past him to get a towel and go swimming in the lake, he stared at me intently and silently. Then he came up and drew a red line on my knee with his marker and said, "There will be blood here." He laughed strangely and ran away. At first, I didn't think much of it and calmly waited for my friends so we could go swimming. The shores and bottom of that lake were completely covered with small stones. As I approached the water, I tripped and fell right on a sharp rock, cutting my knee. After swimming, I looked at the wound and I was shocked. The wound was right where the boy had marked with the marker. There was even a trace of the marker line on the edge of the cut. I told my friend about it, and we decided not to tell the boy's parents so as not to worry them. The next morning, the boy woke us up and grabbed my friend's left arm. He said, "It will hurt here." After yesterday's incident, we guessed what might happen. And so it did. My friend fell off her bike and badly bruised her arm. The bruise was, of course, on her right arm. We were very shocked by these two events. We asked the child how he knew about our injuries. He said a woman in a black headscarf comes to him in his sleep and talks to him. She allegedly tells him what will happen to us and asks him to pass it on. We decided to tell his parents about it, but they didn't believe this story and thought we had just made it all up. They said their son just had a very lively imagination and we shouldn't pay attention to it. A week later, when the boy's mysterious predictions were already starting to be forgotten, a guy who worked at the stables and offered us a horseback ride came to visit. Seeing him, the boy ran up and started pointing a finger at him. "You will soon live in the cemetery." My friend and I were horrified. I apologized, and the three of us went to the stables. We rode horses for about an hour, admiring the picturesque views of the village and lake. It seemed like the boy's words were just child's play. But the next day, this guy, riding his motorcycle, lost control on a turn and crashed into a brick fence. He died on the spot, and we were absolutely shocked. Now we could no longer ignore the boy's abilities. We truly began to fear this child, started avoiding him, and running away when he appeared. The parents noticed our strange behavior and asked what was going on. We decided to tell them the whole truth about their son's predictions. To our surprise, this time they believed us. It turned out they had also experienced strange things related to the boy's predictions, but preferred to keep quiet about it. The parents decided to turn to doctors and psychologists to understand their son's unusual abilities. But then my last day in those parts came, and I went home. As I got on the bus, my friend called me in tears and said her brother had drowned. What had drawn him into the water? He never went swimming. Perhaps the woman in the black headscarf called him. We'll never know.